UFP, the United Federation of Podcasts.
Engage.
78 years have passed since the days of the original USS Enterprise. Now a new Galaxy starship has been designed.
Transporter Chief, beam our listeners aboard. Welcome to Galaxy Class, a Star Trek The Next Generation podcast on the United Federation of Podcasts Network. I'm Diplomatic Standard Bearer Kevin Scharf, and with me today are Chief Recreational Officer Ria Papagiorgio and Security Chief Pierre Larocco. Ria and Pierre, how are we today?
We are staying warm. How are you doing, Kevin and Pierre?
Doing not too bad.
I'm fantastic.
Wonderful.
Good to hear. The temperatures really dropped off where you are?
Yes. We went in on the Fahrenheit scale from a high of 100 to a high of 48 in 2 days. And What is that? Like from 35 to 10 in 2 days.
Yeah.
For the highs.
That's a drop.
Yes, and I haven't seen the sun since Monday, and it's Saturday. So
I'm sorry.
First world problems.
I hear you. It seems like fall just came very quickly here, too, and all of a sudden I'm driving to work in the dark in the mornings, and I don't like that.
Yes, I'm walking down the hallway to my home office in the dark in the mornings, and I don't like that either.
And how are things with you, Pierre? Things are getting back to normal in the school business?
Things are going well. We had a very successful first week. We have a lot of engaged students and energized teachers, so we're trying to carry that over to week 2.
That's great.
Good to hear. It's been a tough year for all of us, and it's got to be a major adjustment for students, I would think. So.
And teachers.
Exactly.
And administrators.
And parents, and people who don't have any children, and the world in general.
I don't know. I've got it pretty easy, but yeah.
Well, we are not here to talk about educational issues. We are here to talk about Star Trek The Next Generation. So first, let's check the communications array to see if we have any comments from our listeners.
Logs accessed.
From our number one fan, Vera Bible, on the Federation Council Chambers. She writes, in regards to our latest Batleth battle, tough choice. As much as I enjoy Rightful Heir and Klingon episodes in general, I'd have to go with the Masterpiece Society. While the scenes between Geordi and Hannah could be a bit bonk on the head, the conversation where she says the founders didn't want anyone to have to suffer by living with disabilities, and Geordi responds, "Who gave them the right to decide whether or not I might have something to contribute?" has always stuck with me. That might have been the first time I remember a show dealing with ableist attitudes, and it remains a powerful line, even 18 years later. I love this comment, and it touches on anyone having to suffer by living with disabilities. This whole notion that we're entitled to go through life without any kind of suffering or inconvenience, I think is a big disservice. And look around at our society. Who's to say just because you were born blind that you're suffering? Or, my brother who's in a wheelchair, who's to say he doesn't have, the same right to contribute and exist and live just because he can't, play football anymore? I mean, I love that. Thank you, Vera.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I always loved how Star Trek did that. Like, if you really think about it, especially the way TNG was set up at the beginning, and yet Roddenberry was still alive at that point. He had the blind guy flying the ship.
Right.
Good point.
And Geordi was named for a fan who was in a wheelchair, wasn't he? I believe.
I did not know that.
I didn't know that either.
Yeah, George LaForge was a major Star Trek fan, and Gene named the character in his honor. So
that's awesome.
Yeah.
Yay.
So. Well,
thank you, Vera, for your comment, as always.
Thank you. We're having fun doing those Batleth battles. I can't wait to do the next one. And it was a really tough choice. I think I said in the episode that if I came to which episode would I rather watch, it would be Rightful Heir. But when it came down to which one sort of had more impact, No, sorry. It would be Masterpiece Society would be the one I'd rather watch. But when it came down to which one had more impact, it was Rightful Heir. So everybody was on the fence, and it was a very close vote on that episode.
Yes, it was.
And we need to get you two on one of those Bat-Left battles soon because we haven't heard your opinion on any episodes
I know. You three have been hogging it.
Mhm.
Kevin and Amy and Joe.
Well, when you got a good thing, you keep going with it, right?
Fine.
Oh.
Fine.
All right. Well, I think it's time we move on to our main topic.
This is the captain. Senior officers will report to my ready room immediately.
So, in today's main topic, we are continuing a series that it was you, Rhea, Joe, and Amy started, right? The character profile series. In that first episode, we discussed Picard. Today, we are going to look at the first officer, Commander William T. Riker. So we'll be talking about his time during The Next Generation. He did appear in Picard. We might touch on that briefly, but that's not the focus of our discussion here today. So, what is the first thing you think of when I say William T. Riker, Pierre?
Protector. He protects Picard. He protects the ship. He always has the crew's back. He's on away missions. We see him protecting other people on different planets. So that's what I think. That's what I think of William.
And Rhea, how about you? What is your first impression of William T. Riker?
So it's interesting because it's really changed over time. Like right now, the first thing I think of when I hear William T. Riker is the Riker grin, which I just love. I just love it. And when I first, I used to think Riker was a creep. And I might have accidentally said that to Jonathan Frakes at one point, and he was surprised. But he's really grown on me. Because, in the early seasons especially, they're trying to push him as the ladies' man. And it just creepy. But I have grown to love him. And the Riker grin, it's almost kind of sexy. Which I hate to say because, again, I used to think he was a creep. But, yeah, his, that grin encompasses his charm, his sense of humor, his kind of lighthearted attitude, his friendliness and affability. So that's what I think of.
Yeah, I think I've got to agree with you there. His sort of bigger than life, positive personality is what I think of. He wants to be everybody's friend. He wants to be the life of every party. He's the character. He's our go-to character for a green lady in every port in the Kirk mold, So, and in some ways, I didn't like him because of that. Because I thought, is he the guy that if I ran into him at a party, I would think, ugh, he's so full of himself. But he's not. He genuinely does care about the people under his command, about the people that he considers family. And when we're going to talk about his family later, and I think his personality comes a lot from his background and his family relationships. So I think that would be interesting.
Agreed.
So, what is an obscure fact about William T. Riker that you think that the listeners wouldn't know about? What's something that is strange or unusual about Will Riker?
If you want some data points, his serial number is S3231-427, and he revealed that in Gambit Part 1. His quarters on the Enterprise D, Deck 8, Room 0912, which you can find that by the path beaten down by all the green ladies. But no, one thing that I don't think people appreciate is he graduated, or people don't know about, is that Riker graduated Starfleet Academy 8th in his class. So he's actually not as dumb as he might look.
How about you, Pierre? You got any obscure Riker facts?
Well, I mean, it's not really talked about in TNG, but Thaddeus Riker, who was in the American Civil War, is one of his ancestors.
I do recall that, and that was discovered on an episode of which show?
Voyager.
Actually, if you want another obscure fact from Voyager, Q says in Voyager, in the episode Death Wish, that he was betting that Riker would have taken command of the Voyager. So that would suggest that perhaps he was offered command of the Voyager before Captain Janeway was.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Interesting. So my obscure fact is that everybody knows that Riker plays the trombone, but he also plays piano.
That's right.
Yes.
There was an episode where they were going undercover. I wish I could think of the name of it right now. And ended up in a seedy bar, and there was an alien piano player with several arms, and he flirted with her and showed her his favorite jazz tune on the piano. So
was that Gambit?
That was Unification.
I think it was Gambit.
That was
Okay.
Was it
Unification?
I think it was Unification, but
It was one of the two-parters.
Okay.
yeah. So maybe one of our listeners can let us know which one.
Please correct us. Yes. So Riker is a musician. He also, like, he has so many hobbies. Music. He's in Dr. Crusher's community theater troupe. He tries cooking with weird alien eggs.
Mm-hmm.
He plays poker. I don't think there's anything that he hasn't tried. So
He does ambujitsu and Parisi squares.
Yes. So yeah, he's quite a well-rounded character, I believe.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I think with him, it's kind of, it really shows I think he comes from a lineage of risk takers, right? Because he's also from Alaska now, and I don't know what Alaska is like in the 23rd century, because it might be like a really nice, normal, like not like a rugged place to live, but as of now, like, Alaska's like a rugged place to live, so it's almost like his lineage comes from ruggedness, and he kind of brings a little of that, and a little resourcefulness, and kind of like a jack of all trades feeling to him.
True. And, well, let's move on. While we're talking about his background in Alaska, why don't we talk about his family right now, too? Because he did grow up in Alaska almost by himself. His mother died when he was very young, right?
Mm-hmm.
And he didn't have the best of relationships with his father, Kyle. So I think that sort of rugged individualist that you think of from an Alaska settler, and combined with the fact that he was basically raising himself from the age of 13 or 15, creates this guy who, I think from being so isolated and alone as a young person, he wants to create family wherever he goes. And that's why I think one of the reasons he's so protective and emotional around his Enterprise family. Does that make sense?
Yeah, for sure.
Yes.
And I think, and that's something I have so many notes on familiar relationships here with his father particularly. I think that shaped him in so many ways. One of them being that, rugged individualism, and, if you're raising yourself at 15, yeah, you probably need to learn how to cook, and fish and ambojitsu and whatever. But his relationship with his dad, as we see in the Icarus Factor, I think, it was revealed that his dad has always been competing with him, competing with his own son. And so from a young age, Riker has had to compete with his dad. And I think maybe that's made him feel like he's, maybe not good enough. I think there's you've got this bravado of this confident, bigger than life man, but I think there's an insecurity in there. And you see that, when he is offered all these commands and doesn't want to leave the Enterprise, you have to wonder how much of that is insecurity, how much of that is maybe the desire for prestige that comes from being on the Enterprise, because he's always got to impress his dad. And then you see, why can't I remember the episode name with his duplicate, with Thomas Riker?
Second Chances.
Second Chances, okay. You almost see like a self-loathing, the way he treats himself, the way they treat themselves / each other. That's kind of a weird one to use pronouns for. So I think there's some kind of an underlying insecurity there, or something in there that drives a lot of what he does. And again, in regards to not leaving the Enterprise, was Picard the father figure he never had? There's like so many, that relationship with his father, I think, there's like so much in there. His promiscuity, is that, again, something driven by his relationship with his dad, and the way he's in the early seasons almost controlling with Troy, which really steams my clams. Yeah, I think that was a huge shaping factor in his life.
Yeah. Now, you mentioned like he didn't leave the Enterprise at any time during the run to take on his own command until he married Troy and knew that he could take her with him, right? So he needed to have his family established before he would leave his sort of comfort zone almost.
So I don't mean to disagree with you, Kevin, but I see it a little differently. I see it more of what Rhea was saying about Picard being almost that father figure that he was longing for, where like he wasn't ready to leave that yet. Because we see in, and I believe it's in Tapestry, at the end, and I know Riker's barely in Tapestry, but at the end he gets his contractual set of lines.
Yes.
He's sitting with Picard, and Picard's saying something, and he's talking about, Picard's like, did I ever tell you about when I went toe-to-toe with the Nausicaans? Like, I feel like we don't see it on screen, but I feel like those two have a lot of those kind of conversations. And not to parallel it, but being an assistant principal, and I have a principal, and it's myself and another assistant principal. Like, we're the only three in our peer group, right, in our building, and just the conversations that we have with each other about different things are different than conversations we would have with others. So I think he gets a lot more of those conversations with Picard that he's not ready to give up, Yeah,
that's a great point. And especially when you consider Encounter at Farpoint, how almost kind of cold Picard was toward Riker, and their relationship really, really developed over the course of the season. And then I think both of you, I think it's a little bit of what both of you said, because, and then, again, kind of coming from the Greek culture where you don't move out of your parents' house until you're married. And in the American culture, parents are like, I kicked my kids out at 18, and they're patting each other on the back, So I think there's some of that where, he couldn't, it just wasn't time yet. He couldn't leave the protection of his father figure until he had his wife by his side. Who, again, going back to the controlling thing, it's okay for you, Riker, to, have dalliances with every green woman in every port, but God forbid that Troy, falls in love with a whatever, I don't know.
So,
don't get me started.
So,
Klingon.
And another...
Yeah.
So to bring to that point, Rhea, I was listening to an interview of Marina Sirtis about that, and she was saying that she felt that Riker and Troy had a very mature relationship where they were able to go and have interludes with other folks. She never felt that it was portrayed as Riker not like Riker being controlling or being upset about any of that.
I think it got better later in the seasons. In the earlier seasons, like in the, was it The Child, where Troy was pregnant? Who's the father? Excuse me, Riker. But then later on, like in The Outcast, Riker goes to Troy and says, "Hey, I'm in love with this person," and so there were a couple like instances later on where it was a little less awkward. But then the whole Worf thing. But then you've got that dynamic of Riker and Worf being good friends. And
so I watched that scene in The Outcasts maybe 10 times this week. And I feel like it was written differently than it was acted. I think Riker overacted it, or Jonathan Frakes overacted it. I think it was supposed to be written as like, I'm trying to be a supportive friend who doesn't know of a reason why this would have happened, and I want to support or make sure that somebody else is doing the right thing in this situation. Does that make sense at all?
I Yeah, I don't know. I haven't watched that scene as many times as you have, and I haven't watched it recently, so I don't want to speak out of turn here. It's interesting that even though both of them have relationships, both Troy and Riker have relationships during the run of the show, they still both call each other Imzadi or beloved, right? So, their relationship was always sort of in the background through the whole thing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
It's really a strange situation.
Yeah, and I thought that was pretty cool, actually, how that relationship was always in the background, and they didn't necessarily consummate it, although it was kind of hinted at here and there, but to have that friendship going all along, that very deep friendship, again, that kind of makes me wonder about Riker. Was there a reason he was so hesitant to commit to Troy? And I'm sure it was on both sides, that Troy would have been hesitant to commit to Riker after he pretty much ditched her.
Yeah, it's almost like if she was like, no, right? Like, you ditched me, no, and then he spent 7 years making up for that, kind of.
Yeah, that's a good point. Maybe Riker was afraid of rejection because he was pretty certain that Troy would be like, yeah, no, not after what you did.
Right, which might have been why he never left the Enterprise, right? Because he could have been like, no, I still need to prove to her that I'm in this for the long haul. I have unfinished business.
Perhaps that's a regret that Riker had, that he just couldn't, that he wasn't going to leave.
And he needed to prove to her that his career didn't always come first, right? Because that was what it was. Ooh. I put my career first.
Yeah.
So in season 3, no, I'm going to stay because my career's not first. But this family that I have created here needs me, right? Like, Picard's coming back and he's rehabilitating and they need me here.
That's a great point.
And then I think you get that after Generations too. Like, I think that's why he stays. I'm sorry, the movie Generations. So the Enterprise crashes, right? They're building them a new Enterprise. I think he stays out of loyalty and friendship to Picard I'll help you get this ship back up and running. And then a couple years later, right, like that the ship's running well and all that, then it's time for him to leave.
And when is it? It's after they crash the Enterprise D, and it's clearly beyond salvage, where Riker says, something along the lines of, oh, darn it, I'll never get to Commander. So I think also he kind of wanted the Enterprise itself, kind of waiting for Picard to get assimilated.
And it goes
again.
then back to hidden conversations, I'll call them, that he had with Picard. I think Picard talked to him about when he met Kirk, right? And one thing Kirk told him was never give up the chair, right? Like, never make a mistake and become an admiral, right? Never give up the chair. And I think he had conversation with Riker, and Riker realized he was never going to get the Enterprise.
Yeah, at least not for decades to come.
Right.
Oh, good point. Oh, nice.
And there were many times where it was stated that Riker gave up captaining ships because he felt that the Enterprise was such a high status position, right? Mm-hmm. Even at the very beginning of the series, he turned down the captaincy of a small ship to be first officer of the flagship.
That's right. And again, that, kind of leads me back to thinking that Riker has kind of this need for prestige that perhaps comes from his father, from that relationship with his father.
Interesting, though, that his early career was very, very, very career-focused, right? He broke his engagement to Deanna, and they didn't talk to each other for over 3 years because he needed to focus on his career. Mm-hmm. And then the Enterprise became his family, and that sort of all took a back seat. Like, he matured. He wasn't so much that driven kid anymore, and he became a mature guy who's like, I like what I have here. I think I'll stay.
And how normal is that? I mean, isn't that like every one of us, or a lot of us? Like, you go to school, you maybe go to college, you graduate, whatever, you start your career, you're focused. And you perhaps had opportunities for family along the way, or even your own parents and siblings and aunts and uncles and cousins. They kind of take a back seat so that you can focus on your career, and you're so driven for the next promotion and the next raise and to achieve this or that. And I think all of us, to some extent, that are kind of career focused. I mean, I know being in baseball, I had to sacrifice everything in my 20s, everything, because I lived on the road. And how many of us have done that? And then as you get older, maybe you achieve the career goals you wanted to achieve, or maybe you just see that other things are more important. Your priorities change. That's just a natural part of life. And I love that about Riker. I love that he was just what I would consider completely normal, overly career focused. I say overly with finger quotes, because then you get to the point in life where you realize that, well, now it's time to put other priorities ahead of my career.
And I think he sort of got the opportunity to be a father figure himself too. In the year that Beverly Crusher was gone, it fell on Riker to sort of guide and become the moral compass for Wesley. He was the one who was sort of in charge of overseeing Wesley's studies and making sure that Wesley was developing into a mature young man.
And teaching him how to talk to women.
Yeah, that's still one of my all-time favorite scenes in
Yeah.
Star Trek. Yeah. So he, while he didn't have children until much later, he got a taste of fatherhood, and I guess trying not to make the mistakes that his father made while still on the Enterprise too. Interesting. Well, what do you think is the crowning achievement of Riker's career on the Enterprise? I know what my first thought is. It jumps right to my mind. But Rhea, what about you? Do you have an idea of what his crowning achievement is?
I had a tough time with this one because there's so much that he did. I mean, as the first officer, you're kind of you're not the one who gets the credit. Basically, you're not the captain, and he was more of a support figure for the captain. There were a few times where he did take command. Mr. Worf, fire. Da, 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 da. That's a pretty big moment there. I would say on the Enterprise, his crowning achievement was just being that solid, reliable first officer to Captain Picard. I mean, but there's so much. I had a hard time picking one. So, yeah.
Well, how about you, Pierre? Do you have a memorable Riker moment that would be his crowning achievement?
So, not really a moment, kind of just like a compilation of things. I think just the way, the well-rounded way the ship ran, right? And the balance between the families and the crew members and the daily missions, as well as just daily life, right? Because when you have a whole lot of families and civilians, there's a whole lot of daily life too. And very, very early, Picard was very clear that he wanted nothing to do with that, and that was all going to be Riker, right? So you think about just all of the interactions that happen on that ship, and then all of the possible conflicts that could arise from that. And that's all on Riker to figure out. And it seemed like it went really well, right? Like you sometimes see kids running around and things, and he handled it well. He made sure the ship ran well.
Like Captain Picard Day.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
And there was at least one episode where we saw Troy and Riker going over duty rosters and reports. Like, it would have fallen on Riker to do all of the paperwork, right? We never see that on the Star Trek, but I'm sure there's a ton of paperwork.
Or pad work.
Pad work, yes. Right. I would say, though, that his crowning achievement was the rescue of Captain Picard from the Borg during Best of Both Worlds, right? I mean, here he is having to step up, take command of the ship, being saddled with a first officer who didn't really respect him, making these tough decisions and having to fire on your captain / father figure / best friend. I think that was the moment where we saw what kind of a person Will Riker was. He was the person who would get the job done when it needed to be done.
Yeah, that was huge. And you're bringing back, I mean, you're sacrificing potentially everything to bring back this valued member of Starfleet, this irreplaceable commodity. But I also have to wonder too. Every time I watch that, I wonder. Here William T. Riker is getting command of the Enterprise. I mean, the ultimate position in all of Starfleet. And was there any temptation to just fire on that Borg ship and keep command? You got it all now. I know that's kind of a dark thought.
But I don't know if we know that he would have kept command of the Enterprise.
No, that's true.
True.
Right? Because there are going to be other captains displaced because their ships were destroyed and things like that.
But still, I got to hand it to him for making the tough decision.
Oh, absolutely. And it was interesting how hesitant he was to step up, and take command and do what he needed to do. But then once he did, he went full Riker.
For sure.
Yeah.
For sure. So on the flip side, what do you think would be his regrets? Do you think Riker has any regrets in his life?
Yes, I do. And I think we touched on it earlier with Troy. When we had our Picard profile, I kind of felt that Picard didn't have any regrets per se, at the point that we found him in while he was captain of the Enterprise, but looked on things as learning experiences and kind of came to reconcile the regrets he had. But I think Riker, while he was on the Enterprise D, regretted leaving Troy, although it was what he had to do at the time. To put career first, like we were talking earlier, that was the stage of life he was in. But yeah, I think Pierre, I hadn't really crystallized the thoughts until you'd expressed them about how he wasn't leaving the Enterprise without Troy. And I think that was a regret that he was going to take care of, that he wasn't going to repeat that mistake.
So regret. So I mean, you have the whole Pegasus situation, right? Which, I mean, it's one of those things where is it really his fault? Is it not his fault? He was a really young officer, who believed he should be following his captain. But I think thinking about it in retrospect, he realizes that his captain was on the wrong side of the coin there. Yeah, so I think that's kind of a regret. I think it's such a deep regret that he doesn't tell anybody. Right? Like, he never told Picard about it or anything like that. So I really do. I think that's probably his biggest regret.
That's a good point. Yeah, when you don't tell anyone, you're ashamed.
Right. Because people died too. Right? Mm-hmm. Like when he skipped out on his engagement to Troy, no one died. Yeah. Right? And he can make that up. But there are things that happen with the Pegasus that he can't make up.
Very true. That was one I was thinking of too. Was the choices he made at that particular moment. That's really got to eat away at you. Knowing that a choice you made created such a terrible effect.
Yeah, and even though at the time he was an ensign fresh out of the academy, who didn't know any better, as he kind of matured and learned, he realized what he had done, or in this case not done, was wrong. And how many of us have that, where you look back on something you did that was was totally wrong, but at the time you didn't know what you were doing was wrong. That's part of maturity, I guess.
Mm-hmm. Well, so let us take a look at Riker overall, and what is the characteristic that you admire the most in Riker? Well, let me start. I've got one. The episode where I wish I was better with episode titles. I wish they just came to my mind quickly. But in the episode where there was war games and Riker was given command of that derelict starship to fight in these war games, Data tells Picard and the person who's sort of overseeing the war game that you can't predict what Riker's going to do, that he only follows developed Starfleet strategy something like 28% of the time, that he's the kind of guy who thinks on his feet and always comes up with an interesting new solution to a problem. And I think that's something that I would love to be able to do more in my life, that I could look at a problem and go, oh, well, this is how they say we should do it, but if I do this, it'll be better and quicker and we'll make it more efficient, So Riker is a kind of person who is improvising all the time. He thinks on his feet, and he's not afraid to take risks. And I think that's a characteristic that I really admire in him.
Yeah, that's a good point. I like that too. And Oh, spoiler alert! It's kind of like Ensign Mariner on Lower Decks.
Yes.
Where you're not. The rules can be a chain.
Yeah.
Sometimes you have to think outside the box. What I like about Riker is his personality. He's kind of that big, larger-than-life personality, but yet he's not over the top. He's easygoing, seems to be very easy to get along with, very friendly and personable. He'd be a fun one to hang out and 10 forward with.
Oh yes, just ask Guinan.
Yep.
I think his leadership style is really great. He straddles that line between being in charge and being a friend and being approachable. Mm-hmm. Right? Like, he's tough when he has to be. Even with people that he really likes, like Troy, right? Like he made her kill Geordi in that simulation. And she wasn't getting around that. Yeah, so he has just a really good leadership style where he can kind of play both sides of the fence and kind of be effective.
Yeah, that's a good point, because as a leader, he has the best of both worlds, where not only is he able to lead people, he's got the people skills that he needs, but he's got, like Kevin was saying, the ability to think outside the box, do what needs to be done strategically to win the battle. He's got both sides that you really need as a leader, and a lot of experience with mundane paperwork.
Mm-hmm. Would you say he's the best middle manager in Starfleet?
Oh, yes.
Well, what other middle managers have we seen? We've seen Chakotay.
Kira.
I don't feel like she was a middle manager.
She blew through middle management on her way to the top.
That's true.
but she didn't really have. This is really off topic, but she wasn't in the command structure of Starfleet.
That's true. That is true.
Right? Like.
True. Yeah, she was Bajoran.
Yeah.
Military.
I guess you've got Spock. He would be. I'm looking at first officers here.
That's what I'm thinking. Yeah.
But.
Yeah, I think Riker's the best middle manager in Starfleet, because Spock wasn't too great at it, right? He didn't relate with the crew.
Yeah, didn't have the people piece that Riker had.
Yeah.
I would work for Riker any day of the week, except, as long as, sexual harassment rules still apply.
Well, you would go to the head of HR on the ship, who I'm guessing is Troy. Would you complain?
But I think everyone that he's had relationships with were very willing. Yeah. I feel like he just had that allure about him.
Yeah.
Like, he's the guy that'll sit on the torpedo trigger, right? Yeah. Have you guys seen that meme?
Is that an innuendo?
No, have you guys seen that meme where he's like, it's in Data's day, when he's leaning on the tactical pad, and yes. The meme says Will Riker is confident enough to sit on the torpedo targeting system.
I'll have to look that one up. But no, you're right. That Riker grin can draw you in to a life of sin.
I think he's one of the most well-rounded characters in Star Trek 2, right? He's athletic, he's artistic, he's confident, charismatic, he's charming, and he's got very few flaws. What would you think his biggest character flaw would be?
I think kind of that insecurity that leads to that kind of aloofness. In some instances, the relationship with his father, that the relationship with himself, with Thomas, there's something there, but otherwise, he's the man that women love to love and men love to hate.
No, I don't think men love to hate him. I think men want to be him.
Yeah, you're right, for sure.
I think sometimes he does let his passions get the better of him too. I keep coming back to The Outcast, where he was almost willing to destroy an entire society for his personal romantic interests. But those things happen few and far between.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
So why don't we just talk generalities now? What are our favorite Riker moments? Pierre, what are your favorite Riker moments?
To be honest with you, I really like both of the the Klingon exchange officer moments. Right? Where he goes on a Klingon ship and serves as an officer, and it's more of just the mindset of, I'm willing to immerse myself in this. Right? Like, it's one of those, like, almost, not for a great, but just, I want to better myself by learning more about others.
Right.
Right? So, you know, he volunteers to go do this exchange, and has an interesting experience where he toes the line of Starfleet and the Klingon, culture, and he immerses himself in it, he learns about it, and he gains respect. So those moments, and then also when Kern comes over and to be the exchange officer in return, and just his interactions with Kern and him giving him tips and pointers, but also his willingness to just be like, he's now the first officer, and I'm just gonna grab some popcorn and see how this plays out. Right? Like, there's a point where I think he tells Geordi in 10 Forward that, you know, he's your first officer, and kind of deal with it.
Yeah. Oh, that's funny. Yeah, when he went over to the Klingon ship, it always struck me how fearless that was.
Yeah.
And now part of it, he even said he wanted, or I think Picard said about him, to be the first the first Starfleet officer to serve on a Klingon ship, so there was kind of that prestige and history books aspect of it. But how fearless would you have to be to go on a ship full of Klingons as the first Starfleet officer and eat gach and perhaps get headbutted? And yeah, that was pretty badass.
Mm-hmm. Well, how about when Kern was like, if this was a Klingon ship, I'd kill you for making a suggestion.
Yeah.
And he's just like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
Good thing we're not on a Klingon ship.
I know.
I like how sometimes he's willing to let himself be the butt of a joke. There's an episode where he's playing his trombone with his little jazz combo and asks for requests, and Troy keeps shouting out the name of this song that she knows he can't play. Mm-hmm. And he forces himself to play it. I think that's a funny moment. He could have shut her down. He could have avoided the situation, but he's like, nope, I'm going to do this. Now, of course, he gets called away to the bridge, and he never does get to play it, but he was willing there in that moment. Mm-hmm. I liked seeing Riker be put in an uncomfortable situation in front of his people. I thought that was a really nice moment.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's another kind of an aspect of his fearless nature, is that he's not afraid to be the butt of the joke, that self-deprecating ability of his. Mm-hmm. There's a lot. When I was thinking about my favorite Riker moments, there's a lot. I mean, I love him on the Klingon ship, Mr. Warfire, the Riker grin. I loved him in Gambit. I loved the interplay between him and Picard in Gambit. Loved it. Mm-hmm. Frame of Mind. I just love him in that episode. That's probably my favorite Riker episode. But if I had to pick one moment, the one that I put at the top was in Measure of a Man.
Yes.
Prosecuting Data. I mean, or not prosecuting, but you know what I mean. Oh my gosh. And to do something that he clearly tore his heart out to have to do, and Pinocchio is dead. Oh my gosh. That just yeah. And then the guilt he felt about it afterwards, and his conversation with Data. I loved Riker's performance in that episode.
Yes. He did what had to be done. He didn't want to do it, but he did it, and he did it to the best of his ability, right?
Yeah.
So, yeah, that's a great one. And I always come back to the Riker flirting with Guinan moment. I think that is an example of a lighthearted Riker, of a Riker who just wants to play and have fun. It shows how good he is at improvising and thinking on his feet, and how much of a ladies' man he thinks he is. It's all good. Mm-hmm.
I don't know how much of that was improvised. I think that he's given that speech, a couple hundred times before.
The patter, though, right? He was right there with a response to whatever she said. So they both were masters of their craft at that point.
For sure.
Now, we have gotten through an entire episode talking about Riker without discussing how he sits in a chair. Is it just because he's a very tall man and the chairs are very short that he always lifts his leg and clambers over the back of them? Or what do you think that is? Is there any deep psychological reason why Riker sits in a chair the way he does?
Well, for me, as someone with a bad back, sometimes it's hard to get in and out of a chair. I think I have Neanderthal genes. I haven't gotten my genome sequenced yet or anything, but they say that people that have like some Neanderthal DNA have more likely to have back issues. So maybe Riker has some Neanderthal DNA, which I'm sure he does because that's what he reverted to. And
yes,
was it the episode Genesis?
Mm-hmm.
Yes,
I forget the title, but. I have heard Jonathan Frakes has said that the walk and the lean that he has, the Riker walk, he got that straight from John Wayne.
That makes sense.
I think he carried some of that John Wayne bravado in, and then, the Riker sit. I'm going to have to try that and see if that helps my back a little bit. But he is a big man.
He is.
And a Neanderthal. That's my theory.
I mean, I always saw it as Riker was kind of a straightforward person, and that was the quickest and easiest way to sit down. I don't even have to break stride. I'm just gonna put one foot on the side of the chair, put the other foot over the chair, and I'm there.
He also did a lot of like propping his foot up on things and sort of leaning in. You know, he'd put his foot on the console or the wooden archway on the bridge, you know. And
he leaned on walls and stuff. Like,
I wonder if part of that too is because he was so much taller than most of the other people on the cast. So in order to get him in shot, he would have to lean over.
You know, again, I'm scratching my head here because I lean on everything, but it's because I have a bad back. So if I ever get a chance to talk to Jonathan Frakes again, I'm going to ask him.
Are you going to tell him you changed your mind about Riker first? So he might let you have a second sentence then at that point?
I'm sure he does not even remember who I am, so I think I'm good.
Well, I think we've had a great discussion about Riker, but let's just sum it up here. How would you sum up William T. Riker, Pierre?
Best middle manager in Starfleet. No, I mean, just, you know, somebody who deeply cares about his friends and others, right? Because when we talk about we joke about his romantic interludes, but a lot of it is just because he deeply cares about people, right? True. Like with what was that episode?
You're talking about the Outcast, or
yes, in the Outcasts, right? Like he just cares about people. Right? And then, and it's just through him getting to know people that then they share something with him, and then he tries to make their situation work. Right? He really cares about people. He cares about the folks that are, the lower decks folks. He cares about the people that they come in contact with. And he's willing to make the hard decisions.
That's true.
Yeah. I hadn't really thought about that before, but Soren, was that the character's name in The Outcast?
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
He saw the pain that he, she, they, I'm not sure what pronoun to use. He saw the pain that Soren was in, having to hide who, is it they? You know, listeners correct me. I'm not up to date on my pronouns.
At the time, I think Soren was using she because she felt
okay. Yeah, so Riker felt the pain that she was in, having to hide who she was. And that is one thing I have learned from the Star Trek community is, I'm straight or pretty asexual, but I've met so many gay friends through the Star Trek community, and like the pain of having to hide who you are your whole life, and to be in the closet and to put on a false face. And, oh gosh, it just breaks my heart. Yeah, so if I had to sum up Riker, like he's so real, even though he's good at everything. And how many of us have experienced that same heartbreaking empathy when you see someone hurting like that? Or again, like, you know, when you're in the phase where career's first and then you're like, oh crap, what have I've missed out on family and all this other stuff. Yeah, he's so real. He's affable. He's just like someone, like I said earlier, I would love to hang out with him 10 forward. Maybe not Risa, but
he really did want Picard to have that Horgon, didn't he?
I'm wearing my Rice's shirt.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice. Oh, and that sense of humor. He knew Picard didn't want Jamaharon, but just to mess with your captain like that, that's something I would do. Wow, you know, again, I really didn't like Riker at first, but now I'm starting to identify with him, so it's a little bit scary.
Well, then I think the word I would use is genuine. He's a genuine human being. What you see with Riker is what you get. There's not really any hidden layers to him. He doesn't have deep, dark secrets. He wears his heart on his sleeve, and he treats people the way he wants to be treated, you know? Except maybe that ensign in Lower Decks who he told off because he thought he was from Canada. You know? No,
well, I mean, wouldn't you tell someone off if they thought you're from Canada?
Canada? No way, not from Canada.
From Canada, eh?
But yeah, I think Riker is perhaps one of the most genuine characters on Star Trek. Like, he's got no skeletons in his closet, really, except maybe his relationship with his father and the issue with the Pegasus, which he kept hidden, and that ate away at him. But other than that, he's just a likable, strong-willed, intelligent, quick-witted,
funny, charming.
Yeah. And the more I talk about him, the more I'm like, oh, would I want to be friends with him? Because he's almost too perfect.
Yeah. Just have him play that song. Do you ever wonder if a different actor had played Riker? You know, I think Jonathan Frakes brought so much to that character. From what I've heard, that's exactly how he is as a person and as a director, that everyone loves working for him. Because Riker had the potential early on to be a really annoying character.
True.
And I think that's kind of what kind of rubbed me the wrong way from the get-go. But I think Frakes brought in that warmth and that depth and that just likability to the character. And the grin, oh my gosh, the grin. And now, of course, Frakes is Star Trek royalty. I think in future decades we'll look back on Jonathan Frakes and speak of him just almost like Gene Roddenberry, Leonard Nimoy, the things that he's done for the franchise. So, yeah, I've become a Will Riker fan.
And Riker is the character who has appeared on the most Star Trek series as well, right? Because he did all of the 90s Treks. He was on at least one episode of each of those, plus Picard. So that means that Riker holds the record for most series.
Did he appear as Riker on DS9?
He was a Riker.
Was he in the Emissary?
That's what I'm thinking.
No, only Picard was in Emissary.
Okay.
No, you're right. It was Thomas Riker that appeared on DS9, but still, he's a version of Will.
Technically, he is William Thomas Riker.
He is.
So, that is true.
Well, I think this has been a very good discussion about a character that, when I first thought about him, I don't know if I really like him. But I think the more we discussed him, the more I realized what a great character he is. So,
same page.
Thank you.
Incoming transmission.
We would love to hear your thoughts on today's show and hope you'll comment on our United Federation of Podcast Facebook page or join the Federation Council Chambers, our members group on Facebook. You are welcome to start conversations with us or add any general Star Trek info you want to share with the group.
If you'd like to send us an email, you can email the network at contact@ufp.earth. And we might read your email on the show.
Please hit the subscribe button on Apple Podcasts or wherever you get your podcasts and leave us a star rating and a written review. This helps others to find the show. You can also follow the entire network's podcast with our master feed by searching United Federation of Podcasts. This way you won't miss any of our fine shows like All Good Things with our very own Amy Nelson, Franchise Fatigue, Always Hold On to Arrow, General Quarters, Mickey's Marvels, Infinite Diversity, and Trek Pod. So Pierre, what section of the ship can you be found hanging out with Will Riker when you're out there in the universe?
I always say 10 forward, but I need to come up with something better than that. The Parisi Squares Court.
Ooh.
I think it's played on a court. I'm really curious about that game. Somebody needs to figure out how they play that game.
Yes. And then we'll see you in sickbay.
Naturally, because that's what happens. And Kevin. Oh, I'm sorry. I need to tell you guys where you can find me.
Where can we actually find you, Pierre?
You can find me in the Federation Council Chambers on the Facebooks, and also on the Twitters at PLaraco21. And Kevin, which deck will you be on when you're searching for life forms?
Well, if I'm doing that, I'm in Deck 12 Science Labs, but normally you can find me backing up Riker on a stand-up bass while the trombone takes the lead. Other than that, you can find me on a couple of other podcasts, including True North Nerds, a general geek and nerdery show that I do with a few friends here locally, and Stage Whispers, which is a show about live theater in Central Ontario. You can find me on Twitter at True North Nerds, on Facebook under my name, Kevin Scharf, or in the UFP groups or the Federation Council Chambers. So, Ria, what part of the ship has the best chairs for doing the Riker maneuver, and where are you practicing that?
Oh, I'll be practicing that in Deck 8, Room 0912. Just kidding. Riker is spoken for. Well, when I'm not at least having a synthale or three with Commander Riker on at 10 forward, you can find me in the Federation Council Chambers. You can contact me at contact@ufp.earth. Otherwise, I will be out enjoying the rest of the warm weather before winter comes.
Nice.
Priority 1 message from Starfleet coming in on secured channel.
If you'd like to help us keep all our shows coming to you each week, you can become a patron of the network on Patreon. Visit patreon.com/UFPEarth. That's patreon.com/UFPEarth to get all the details. We have 4 different levels starting at just $1 per month, and would appreciate your support.
We would like to recognize our executive producers, Brandon Shea Mutala, Ken Tripp, Zach Moore, and Tony Robinson. We would also like to thank Zach Tripp, no relation to Zach Moore, but related to Ken Tripp, for our opening and closing music, and Tony Robinson for our amazing and gorgeous artwork.
Thank you for beaming aboard the Galaxy class, and until next time,
stay classy, Galaxy.
Energize.
Fate protects fools, little children, and ships named Enterprise.
Engage.
This has been a production of MTMR Media Works.